Hello dear students. After understanding scalar triple product, now we'll move towards vector triple product. So here we will be using three vectors and multiplying in such a way so that the answer is going to be vector. Hence it will be known as vector triple product. So let's say we got three vectors, A vector and B vector and C vector. We need to place the cross. So we will place cross over here, cross over here. Since we know this cross product is applicable for two vectors, so we need to put the bracket. Either we can make this AB within the bracket or BC within the bracket. So let's say I'm making B and C within the bracket. So this is going to be known as a vector triple product because the answer is going to be a vector. How? Because this B cross C will give us a vector, and this new vector will be cross multiplied with another vector A. Hence again there is going to be a final cross product or vector product. So vector will be the answer. Right, so so we can say this is a vector quantity. First of all, the simplest point is that this is going to be a vector quantity. Since it's a vector quantity, so we need to know its magnitude as well as direction. Let's talk about the direction first. Now we know this is going to be a vector which is going to be perpendicular to both B and C. So this vector, let's say for the time being we call it as a D vector. So this D vector is going to be perpendicular to B as well as perpendicular to C. If we call it as a D vector, so this can be rewritten as a vector cross D vector. We know this is in turn is going to be a vector which is perpendicular to both A vector and D vector. That means this vector, which is the final vector, is going to be perpendicular to D vector. And D vector was perpendicular to plane of B and C. If we combine these two terms together, then we can say this A cross D is going to be a vector which is in the plane of B and C. That means from here we can conclude that the direction of this vector is going to be in the plane of B and C. So this comes out to be a point. We can say this A cross bracket B cross C, this vector lies in plane of vector B and vector C. Making sense? It's something to be visualized, and let me quickly re-explain what I said. This B cross C is perpendicular to B and C both, and then we are doing again cross product. That means the final vector is going to be perpendicular of B and C. That means it's going to be in the plane of B and C. So that's what that's the point we can remember, and in fact we can understand this thing. Or in other terms we can claim the same thing as these three vectors, or we can call it as like this: vector A cross B cross C, that's a one vector, comma vector B and vector C. We can say all the three vectors lie in the same plane. That means they are coplanar because they lie in the same plane. So these vectors are coplanar vectors. So that's point coming out because of the direction of this, right? Similarly, suppose somebody writes like this: A cross B in a bracket, and then we are doing this cross product with C. So can you think of what the plane in which this vector is going to lie? So you will say this vector is going to be this is going to be perpendicular to the plane of A and B, and the final is going to be perpendicular to this perpendicular. Hence it will convert into the plane of A and B. So we will say this is in plane of A vector and B vector. So what conclusion comes out to be is this, that whatever the bracket is, so the vectors within that bracket, whatever the plane they are making, the entire vector lies in that plane itself. So here we can claim A cross B cross C vector, and A vector and B vector, they will become the coplanar vectors. Making sense? Fine. Now, so this is how we can decide the direction or the plane where they are going to lie. In order to find the exact value, what we can do, we can put the value of vector A, value of vector B, value of vector C if they are given in I cap, J cap, K cap form. Then first we will be performing the cross product. In this case, first we will be performing this cross product, and whatever the answer will come, then we will go for this another cross product. We know the basic rule of multiplication, same are going to be followed over here. Since we know this cross product is very difficult related to the dot product, so there exists a formula that we can use to simplify this, and we can make our calculation quick. So that's kind of identity, and we can remember that if we need to find A cross B cross C, so instead of doing this, we can use the right hand side of this relation. So this converts into, what we do, we will be multiplying this as A dot C, and with this will be B vector, then minus A dot B C. So that becomes an identity. Just we can verify this identity. To verify it, what we need to do, we assume this A vector as A1 I cap plus A2 J cap plus A3 K cap, similarly B and C, and then check what the left hand side is and check what the right hand side is. You'll find this will be verified, or this will be true. That means this will be true for all the vectors A, B and C. So using this, we can make our calculations easier. How our calculations will become easier, let me explain. Whenever A, B, C are given to us, so instead of doing this left hand side, we can perform this right hand side. Performing right hand side is quite easy, because dot product we know is going to be a number, and it's going to be easier. So we can do dot of A and C, then we can do dot of A and B, and then we can multiply these numbers with B and C and put a minus in between. So this calculation is going to be relatively easier. Whereas if we perform this this left hand side calculation, then you'll find what we need to do. First we need to go for the cross product of B and C by using determinant or otherwise method, and then whatever that vector comes out to be, that vector has to again multiplied in a vector fashion with the vector A. Then whatever ultimately comes out to be, that will become the result, and that result is similar to this, exactly equal to this. Okay, so that's an important identity. We can remember it. How we can remember it? Whenever this kind of stuff is given to us, there is a bracket, so we will be doing the dot product of the far apart quantities first, and whatever the left is as written as a vector, then we will be doing this dot with the close by quantity, and then putting the rest quantity as such. Okay, now this also says something like if three vectors are coplanar, so coplanar vectors can always be written as a linear combination of the rest of the two. Meaning is this, let me extend this point itself. Suppose this is the statement which says A cross B cross C and B and C are coplanar, which also indicates that we can always write this vector which is A cross B cross C as a linear combination of the rest of the two vectors. That means we can write it as some lambda time B vector plus mu time C vector. So that's also going to be useful in many of the calculations in future. So if somebody says three vectors are coplanar, that means we can write a vector as a linear combination of another two vectors. Linear combination means we need to write those vectors and multiply by some constant. Here lambda and mu, these are the symbols that are indicating constants. So whenever two vectors are given to us, we can always write a third vector in the same plane as lambda b plus mu c. Right, so that means this combination expresses all the vectors that lie in that plane of B and C. Now if we keep on changing lambda and mu, our answer will keep on changing, right? So nutshell point is this: if B vector is given to us, C vector is given to us, and if somebody asks us to find a vector in the plane of B and C, we can say a linear combination of these vectors will be a vector in the plane of B and C. Now a particular value of lambda and mu will be representing this vector. So this vector will be represented by a particular value of lambda and mu. If we keep on changing lambda and mu, you will find different vectors of that plane will be represented by this expression. Making sense? So vector triple product, we need to remember this expression, and we need to know what the direction or in which plane it lies, this vector in which plane it lies. And if we are writing in this manner, this is a different vector and this is a different vector. That means where we are placing that bracket, it doesn't matter. Okay. So in examination, it's not going to be very frequent, but yes, we need to know how this vector triple product goes on. And performing is not going to be difficult if we are comfortable to find the dot and if we are comfortable to find the cross. Okay, so before we move ahead, we can also jot down this point, the point that we just say that this expression is different than this expression. So in general, we will saying that also we can claim this thing that A cross B cross C and A cross B cross C, they are not equal. So in general, this expression and this expression is not equal. I hope you are able to understand. This vector is in the plane of B and C, whereas this vector is in the plane of A and B, and A and B may have a different plane, B and C may have a different plane, so they will have a different directions, they might have a different magnitudes. So it all depends how they are being calculated, and the calculation is going to be like this. Fine. So you just jot down, if the need arises, you can use these expressions. Now after learning the product of three vectors, now we can move towards product of four vectors. Let me tell you one point before we proceed. This four vector product is rarely being used, and we will be using in case of some advanced JEE advanced level problems. Moreover, this is just going to give you idea how we do the product of multiple vectors, and in beginning our focus is only on the better understanding of two types of product, like cross product and dot product. So first we need to become confident and comfortable on these two types of product that we have talked about, and higher order products basically combine them. And in this slide I'm just going to give you some result, and that you can use in later on for calculations in physics questions, and it will also help you to imagination how we can connect these vectors in terms of planes, in terms of lines, in terms of other geometries, right? So there are certain points I have mentioned over here. The first point, let's see this. So if we have a four vectors product, so they can be some combinations. So first type is given over here. It's like A cross B dot C cross D. Once you look at this in your brain or mind, one thing must come immediately. That thing is that this is one vector, this is another vector, and we are doing the dot product. That means our answer is going to be a scalar quantity. So ultimately we will get a scalar number. How to get that scalar number? For that sake, what we need to do, we will be doing this cross product between C and D first, and then A and B, then whatever comes out to be, we will be doing the dot product. The rules are very logical and simple. So ultimately what we are using how to do the cross product between the two vectors. Once we have done the cross product, then we need to talk about how to use the dot product. So basic results are involved over here. However, instead of doing this, what we can do, we can use this identity, and the identity is that this number, this product comes out to be equal to this. What it is says, basically you can think of in this way. First we do the dot of these numbers and do the dot of these numbers and then multiply, because we know these are the dot are the numbers can be multiplied, so there is no dot and cross in between. And then after we can catch their far apart quantities, that means extreme these two together as a dot fashion, and then the middle one as a dot fashion. Well, this is just I'm explaining how you can remember, but once you write and you can think of your own way of recalling it. So this becomes the expression of this. This is identity. That means this is always true, and this is known as scalar product of four vectors. That's what we are talking about. Now this number, this is basically like one number x, this is y, this is z, and this is some another number, let's say t. So this is a product of 4 numbers, right? And then subtraction, 2 and 2, and then subtraction in between, which we can always write in terms of this determinant, because in determinants first we multiply these things, then subtract this multiplication. So that's what it is written. Okay, fine. So this is an identity that can be remembered. Now what the benefit of this identity is going to be, I think that's obvious, because doing the cross, then doing the dot is going to be difficult, and doing the dot is quite easier. So first we will be doing the dot of AC, then BD, then AD, then BC, and then these numbers comes out to be, we can manipulate these numbers in this manner to get our answer. Similarly, there is another identity for vector product. So we can think of this is A cross B, then bracket closed, cross, another bracket C cross D. So instead of dot over here, we have to bring now cross. So this is a vector, this is a vector, so it's ultimately vector product of 2 vectors. So it's going to be a vector quantity. So ultimately we will get a vector, right? So when we simplify this comes out to be this expression, where you remember this is a scalar triple product, this is scalar triple product. Now here you can connect your old concept of scalar triple product to get this, how we are getting this. So let me briefly explain what is going on. Let's say we think that this is a single vector. So let's consider this as a single vector, or maybe to start with we can think of this as a single vector, so we can get the expression of the first type. Now we know if there is a vector A and we need to do the cross with vector C cross D, let's call this as a vector capital A. So this capital A for us is indicating this A cross B together. So what this is going to be equal to? So can we say this is going to be equal to some sort of this? First we're going to do the dot A dot D, and this will be C minus this will come together, and then we will be doing the dot with C, so it's going to be A dot C and this D vector. Now so this is basically equality, so let me place the equal symbol over here. Can we say this further goes to equal to A? Now let's place back the value of capital A, which is A cross B. So this will become some sort of this A cross B and having dot with D. This is in one bracket, and this is multiplied with C minus, and this A dot C, in place of A we can write A cross B and then dot C, which was there, into D vector. Now if you remember this scalar triple product, so A cross B dot D is a scalar triple product which can be written in terms of a big bracket A comma B comma D, so that becomes A comma B comma D. Sometimes we don't place even commas, it's okay. So this becomes first expression into C, then the minus, this will become A B C, so it's going to be A comma B comma C and D. So that's how this expression becomes equal to this expression. Right, now you can also prove that this the initial expression is also equal to this. For that sake you consider this as a single and separate them, and then go for the cross product, and you will find that this thing is coming outside, right? So point is the cross product of 2 cross products is going to be this, right? So again, what the benefit is going to be, instead of doing multiple cross product, we can find this scalar triple product and then multiply with the corresponding numbers. Making sense? Yes. Now one more point from here, we can conclude that this vector, the entire vector, is coming in the plane of C and D, which is also in the plane of B and A. So that means this can lie in the plane of C and D and the plane of B and A, right? Then some note points over here. It says if the first term that we have talked about, that A cross B dot C cross D becomes 0. Now if this becomes 0, that means this plane, this vector and this vector are perpendicular to each other, and we know this vector is perpendicular to the plane of C and D, this vector is perpendicular to the plane of A and B. That means these perpendiculars are perpendicular to each other. That means plane of AB is perpendicular to plane of CD. So from here we can conclude the planes containing AB vector and plane containing CD vector, they has to be perpendicular. So if we need to, in future, if we need to prove that the two planes are perpendicular to each other, So what we need to do, we need to find the cross product of two vectors in one plane and cross product of two vectors in another plane, and we need to simply prove that the dot product of these two cross products is 0. Okay, if you finding it difficult, you just listen what I have said. It will make sense over the time. Now another point is this: if this cross product of two cross products comes out to be 0, so what does that mean? It simply means like that this vector is parallel to this vector. Then we can say this vector is basically perpendicular to the plane of C and D. This vector is perpendicular to the plane of A and B. That means these perpendiculars are parallel to each other. If perpendiculars are parallel to each other, then planes has to be parallel to each other. So we can say from here that the plane containing A and B vector and plane containing C and D vector, they are parallel to each other. So this will help us to prove parallel nature between the planes, and this will help us to prove perpendicular nature between the planes. Making sense? So this is just the meaning of these four vectors product, and you just make your notes down and revise them n times, and over the time you will be grasping it in better manner. And everything is rooted at the understanding of cross product and dot product, which we have initially talked about. Making sense? Okay, now let's proceed further. Now let's move towards another important point, and probably the last point in this vectors, and this is known as direction cosines. What they mean, we will be understanding them in a better fashion. Prior to that, let's talk about in two-dimensional case. This is related to 3D case. So to understand what goes on 3D, let's talk about then what goes on 2D, which is easier for us. Let's say this is x coordinate, y coordinate. So xy plane is this plane of the board, and this is any point P, so its coordinates are x comma y. So we know, like, if we can drop this perpendicular over here, so we can measure what this angle is. Let's say this angle is alpha. So if this angle is alpha, so we can say this is going to be y, this is going to be x. Moreover, this is going to be r vector, so we can say this r vector is basically equal to xi plus yz. Whereas this magnitude of r is going to be square root of x square plus y square. We have talked about this initially in the vectors. So what this alpha is going to be, so we generally used to find this tan alpha. So this tan alpha is equal to y divided by x. That's why we use it. Now once we got this alpha, the another angle is automatically known to us, because if alpha is the angle with the x-axis, so what will be the angle with the y-axis? So that's going to be 90 minus alpha. Let's call it to be beta. So we say beta, so we can simply say beta is nothing but 90 minus alpha. So that's sake, for in two-dimensional case or two-dimensional vector, in order to find the direction, we simply need one angle. Another angle is understood. It's 90 minus alpha. Moreover, we use this tan alpha to get that angle. What else we can use? We can also use this cos alpha. If we use cos alpha, so it's going to be x divided by r. X divided by r. And if we use cos beta, so you can see from the figure, cos beta is going to be, if this angle is beta, so this angle will become beta. So we can apply this cos rule over there, so it's going to be y by r. So here these things are basically cosine of alpha, cosine of beta. Alpha is the angle with the x-axis, beta is the angle with the y-axis. So this is cosine of alpha, this is cosine of beta. So we can say these are the alpha, beta are the directions, or they are indicating the directions of vector OP, and cos alpha, cos beta, they are written as x by r and y by r. Now this two-dimensional stuff can be extended to three-dimensional stuff, and here it becomes very important, because in this case we simply don't have a two angle to measure, rather we have a three angle to measure. So let's say in three-dimensional case, this is x dimension axis, this is y axis, this is z axis as shown in the figure, and this OP is our vector, so P will have a coordinate x comma y comma z. It's in three-dimensional somewhere. Now let's say this vector OP makes angle alpha with the x-axis, so this angle alpha is with the x-axis. And let's say this OP vector makes beta angle with the y-axis, so this beta is angle with the y-axis. and then let's say this vector OP makes angle with the z axis, which is gamma. So this is gamma angle. So here alpha, beta, gamma, they are the angle made by this vector OP vector with the corresponding axis x, y and z. Here if somebody asks what is the value of alpha plus beta plus gamma, so can you think of what this value is going to be? So in case of two-dimensional, it was clear because this was in a plane, so alpha plus beta was 90 degree that we have used. Here it is three-dimensional stuff, so alpha plus beta plus gamma will not be decided for, we will not be able to decide what the value it is going to be. So here finding alpha, beta and gamma is difficult. So we don't find alpha, beta and gamma, rather we find the cos of alpha, cos of beta, cos of gamma. So what the direction cosines is, directions means alpha, beta, gamma, cosines means cosine of these things. So direction cosines becomes basically cos alpha, cos beta and cos gamma. So when we write cos alpha, cos beta and cos gamma, they are known as direction cosines, or in short we write as a DCs. So cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma, they are the direction cosines, where alpha is the angle of the vector from the x-axis, beta is the angle of the vector from the y-axis, and gamma is from the z-axis. Right? And this vector is, let's say this vector is r vector. So we can use the same concept that we just talked in the two-dimension case. So this r vector can always be written as xi plus yj plus zk. Right? Now if we need to find, let's say we need to find cos alpha, or maybe cos beta, or maybe cos gamma. So what we need to do, let's say we are trying to find this cos beta. So for that sake we will be having a perpendicular, we will drop a perpendicular, and perpendicular has to be dropped in the y-axis. So if I draw this in y-axis, then you'll find this becomes a right angle triangle. In this right angle triangle, this let's say this falls on the point, let's call this point to be B point. So this OB is going to be projection of R in the direction of y-axis. So basically this will become the projection of R vector in the direction of y. So if I write directly, this will be equal to projection of R in the direction of y, that means j cap. So R dot j cap. Now in this triangle we can apply the cos beta. So what the cos beta is going to be? Cos beta will be equal to this OB, that's a projection, divided by OP, base over hypotenuse. Then base value can be written as R dot j divided by OP, which is R magnitude. Making sense or not? Now R dot j, R vector is this. If we do the dot product of j, then you can think of this is going to be simply y coming in, and R can be written as a magnitude of x square plus y square plus z square. So this becomes the value of cos beta. Once you have understood the value of cos beta, cos gamma can be identified in a very similar logic. So cos gamma will be R dot k cap divided by magnitude of R. So if we know the vector, we will be doing this dot and dividing by this, which will be basically k coefficient divided by magnitude of that vector, that is x square plus y square plus z square. And similarly we can find the cos alpha value. Cos alpha is going to be with the x-axis, so it's going to be R dot I cap, basically the coefficient, x coefficient of that vector divided by magnitude of that vector. So this becomes x divided by square root of x square plus y square plus z square. So this is how cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma can be easily identified if the vector is given to us. So if the vector is given to us, we will get x component, y component, z component. So cos beta will be y component of the vector divided by magnitude of the vector. Cos gamma will be z component of the vector divided by magnitude of the vector. Cos alpha will be x component of the vector divided by magnitude of the vector. If you relate this with the 2D, that's what we have written over here. We started with this. Cos alpha is the x component divided by its magnitude. Cos beta is y component divided by its magnitude. Similarly, cos gamma is z component divided by its magnitude. So that's a continuous version from 2D to 3D. Now, in examination, these cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma will be asked to you. So if the vector is given, we can easily find out what's going on. Okay. There is also a relation between cos alpha, cos beta, and cos gamma. There's as we talked about, alpha plus beta plus gamma is not easy to find out for us, but what we can easily find out is direction cosines. Now, out of this cos alpha, cos beta, and cos gamma, if we write this cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma for any vector, then you'll find the answer will become very simple. That means alpha, beta, gamma, they are not independent from each other, rather they depend on each other, and the dependency is this. That means cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma comes out to be 1. So this is how alpha, beta, and gamma are related in case of 3D vectors, and where alpha, beta, gamma are the angles with the corresponding XYZ axis. Right. Then there will be point to prove it, so we can quickly prove it. Proving is going to be very easier. So we can basically verify it rather, or you can say we can write the left hand side, or you can say we have talked about the cos alpha. So okay, let's start like this. We know the cos alpha from the previous expression. So what the cos square alpha will become? It will become x square divided by x square plus y square plus z square. Similarly, we know cos beta, so cos square beta will be equal to y square divided by x square plus y square plus z square. And we can also write this square of cos gamma, so that will be in very similar logic, z square divided by x square plus y square plus z square. Now can you think of, we can add these three to get the left hand side. So this will imply cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma. You can put all the values that you have written in this above line. So we will find the denominator is common, so it's going to be x square plus y square plus z square in the numerator, and denominator which was common is x square plus y square plus z square, so which yields as a 1, right? So hence it's hence proved. That means this relation is identity, and it's true for all values of alpha, beta, and gamma. It's very similar to this, like we write cos square theta plus sin square theta as 1 for all angles of theta. Similarly, for all directions of alpha, beta, gamma, this behaves like an identity, an important aspect. There was a question that has come in the examination, so let me give you that as example. Let us know whether you can connect it. It was saying find the value of sin square alpha plus sin square beta plus sin square gamma, where alpha, beta, gamma are the direction cosine angles made by a vector with the x, y, and z axis respectively. So if somebody asking this value, can you find this value? So you can pause the video and try to solve this, find this value. I'm solving here. So what you can do, you can use this sin square alpha. So we can write sin square alpha as a 1 minus cos square alpha, because for any angle cos square alpha plus sin square alpha is going to be 1. Similarly, we can write this sin square beta as a 1 minus cos square beta. Similarly, we can write sin square gamma as a 1 minus cos square gamma. Now you can think of, you will get your answer. How you can get your answer? You can add them up, so it's going to be 1 plus 1 plus 1, that is 3. Take a minus sign outside, and in bracket you will find cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma. And now you can use the identity that we have just understood. For direction cosines, this number is 1, so our answer is going to be 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2. Making sense? So this type of questions are popular in examination. So if they will be giving sine terms or cos terms, what we need to do, we need to convert them all in terms of cos, and we'll find this kind of identity, and we'll put the value of 1. Making sense? Well, so this is about direction cosines. So in this particular video lecture, we have talked about two important aspects. One is vector triple product, and another is the direction cosines, along with understanding how 4 vectors get multiplied, right? So make your notes. If you have any doubt or question, you can ask. If you are getting things, that means we are on the track. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.